Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great night. Happy MLK Day. Welcome to the Week Ahead News Show with me, Liam, and my good friend Tommy.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me back, Liam. Episode 46.
Yeah,
Good to be back. Good to be going over the news. We got some crazy stuff going on today, so glad to be here.
yeah, but it's currently January 19th, 2026. MLK Day. Hope everyone had a good day off. If you work for the government to get the day off, that's nice. Make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Our Facebook's in the description. Following us on there really helps us out. I'll go into the weather. I'm actually just going to pull it up on my iPad because we've had crazy weather the past couple days. It's been changing up, and I know. Yeah, we did have a special weather advisory. I'm expected to last severe weather advisory until 12 p.m. on Tuesday. So tomorrow. Cold wind chills as low as 15 below. Portland's north and central northeast Ohio and northwest Pennsylvania. I said until noon tomorrow. Make sure you take action, stay inside Trumbull County, stay warm. Today, the low is 7, high at 22. It's partly cloudy. We got some snow today and yesterday. Tomorrow, um, it's going to be a low of 4, high of 16. Can I click on this too? I don't think I can. Dang. Sunny. Wednesday, 70% chance of sleet. Low of 10, high of 34. Thursday, partly cloudy. Low of 15, high of 29. Friday, another cold day. Partly cloudy. Low of 1, high of 16. Saturday, another cold day. -2 low. High 11, Burr. Sunday, 55% chance of snow. 4 low, 13 high. Next Monday, partly cloudy, a little bit of sun. Low 1 degrees, high 15. So it's going to be cold as a mofo. Lots of wind going on, so be careful for that. Right now, our moon is in waxing crescent, 2% illumination. Next moonrise is at 8:56 a.m. Next full moon is in 13 days. 67% humidity. Next snow precipitation is, like I said, Wednesday. For sunrise today, first light was 7:13. Sunrise was at 7:43. Sunset was at 5:23. And last light was at 5:53, giving us about 9 hours and 39 minutes of total daylight. Tommy will be going on stocks for the past 5 days for last week. We also have stocks for today above us and look like small reds. Or zeros. They're off today.
Yep, and that's reflected over the last 5 days. So Dow's down 140 points, down 0.28. S&P 500's down 4 points, 0.06. Nasdaq's down 61 points, 0.26. Small losses over the last 5 days.
All right. Normally we had, like for the last couple of weeks, we had minor gains, so we get minor losses here. Today we're going to a funny topic. At the SNL cold open skit they had with all of like Trump, all the characters will go off into it. How SNL kicked off 2026 with a cold open that lead hard into absurdity, using exaggeration and rapid fire satire to reflect the chaotic tone of the current political moment. Sketch opened with a parody of formal White House address, immediately undercut by Donald Trump's exaggerated self confidence and off script rambling. Core joke is simple but effective. There's also Kristi Noem in it, which I thought was funny. Trump talks a lot about the stuff, everything going on right now. Um, what else we got going on here? I kind of want to be quick with this one, but not too quick. Cause I'm trying to think who else was. Oh yeah, we talking about Pete Hegseth. They made fun of too, as well as Kristi Noem. So that's good to see. There's JD Vance in there as well. So a lot of characters. I wish they did JD a little bit worse. I feel like they kind of could. You know what I mean? Especially with a black eyeliner.
Yeah.
So I wish they would kind of dog him a little bit harder. But you know, that's how
So,
it be.
you know, my take on this, through we were talking briefly about this before the show, and there were some funny parts in there. There was Kirsty Nome in there. There was Pete Hegseth coming out, with the whey protein, and the blah blah blah, Department of War, bomb whey protein. There were some funny parts, but overall, my take on this, being in the funny section, is kind of just a respectful disagreement that I don't think SNL is that funny.
Yeah, we
You
know,
know,
we
and
know.
You know, like it's okay. It's okay. There were some funny parts in there, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. And some of it too is like, sadly, like SNL is not like South Park. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they can't do that. You know what I mean? They're on NBC. It's a little bit different how networks work. So I respect it.
Yeah.
Like they can't go too crazy, and you've seen that for the last couple years, and you've seen that for a little bit of everything. A lot of late night shows, like they make jokes, but they're not like David Letterman back in the day, and I'll just say that, or even King back in the day.
Yeah.
Some of the raunchy shit they would say, and like I like South Park for its raunchiness, but there's also like controlled comedy, and I think that's kind of cool. Because I even think Dumb and Dumber is good, and Dumb and Dumber is like just bad, but like the fact that it's bad makes it good. But I get it.
They're working under
I do
different
get it.
they're working under different constraints.
Yeah.
You know, they're a live show. I just like personally,
Yeah.
I haven't watched Saturday Night Live from start to finish. Ooh, probably over a decade.
Yeah. But like I also know you, and I know you don't watch TV, so I mean,
That's
you're
true.
not gonna watch
That is
SNL.
true. That is very true.
Like I don't think there's
That is
like
very
any
true. But I
TV
do
you
pull up
watch.
like
I'm not
clips.
gonna lie. Like being your friend, like it's just sports, and that's just racing now, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And I don't watch TV either, so that's my problem. Like our generation doesn't. You know what I mean? And it's hard. It's like, am I gonna want to get Hulu or Peacock to watch SNL? Like that's a hard one to pull. A lot
I,
of
I
people have
like how
Peacock for sports though.
like John Oliver, put his full. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
full show. It's pretty close. Like I don't think it's his full show, but it's full segments. I watch those pretty routinely.
On
You
YouTube?
know, on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. So what he does is his show will always have two segments, a shorter one and then a long one. The long one always gets uploaded to YouTube, and it seems like the short one is like they keep it on
Yeah.
HBO. But the short
Yeah.
one's normally like not a big deal. It's weird. It's normally like kind of like comedy, more than like the
Okay. Yeah.
serious long one. Because like watching it on HBO is fun, but it really doesn't matter. You're getting the main story on the main one. But that's a thing
Yeah.
too.
John
Like,
Oliver.
like no one has Peacock. Like I said, only people for some
No.
sports, and that's interesting. Like I think I had to get it to watch the Browns once or something. And then sometimes like certain races will be on there. Um, but that's life. All right, we'll go into a national topic one real quick. It's about the aftermath of the Renee Good shooting, everything going on with like the protests, Trump, everything in Minneapolis. Kind of like we talked about last week on January 7th. 36-year-old Renee Nicole Good, a Minneapolis woman who was a mother of three, was fatally shot by an immigration and customs enforcement officer agent during a federal immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis. Um, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, initially justified the shooting by claiming Good attempted to run over the agent, but extensive video footage and independent analysis contradicted the narrative, showing the vehicle was moving slowly and had turned away from officers when shots were fired. Something like a lot of people are seeing now too. It's also a lot of times we see with police, they have standards to go by. The federal standards for them is like if someone's in a vehicle, like, and even if they're using that vehicle as a weapon coming directly at you, you can't shoot them. They have to have a different weapon that creates a different threat besides that vehicle. So like all of this is crazy. And it's interesting how like they stopped doctors from helping her and all this stuff, and we're just seeing a bunch of more videos coming out of ICE. Like literally, I share them all with all my friends, but like there was a video where ICE officer was like, you know what I mean, watch yourself, especially what's happening, and like they're just being crazy right now. You know what I mean, especially with U.S. citizens. Um, So basically, with a protest and public reaction following the shooting, widespread protests erupted in Minneapolis and across the country. Demonstrators have called for accountability, justice for her family, and an end to aggressive ICE enforcement tactics. Many protests were peaceful vigils and marches organized by civil rights groups and community members honoring Good's life, including coordinating actions described as ICE Out for Good activism. Protests did also target public institutions and politicians perceived as complicit, notably staging demonstrations at a Minneapolis church where a local ICE official served as pastor. That's actually crazy. So
That is crazy.
pastor went to
I didn't hear.
ICE, and it's funny because like we've seen in Minnesota, there's like pastors speaking out against this, pastors getting arrested, getting hit, leading to a Department of Justice promise to pursue charges against those who disrupt services, a move that drew criticism from civil rights leaders. And I believe we see now with like I think Don Lemon went out and was at this church, and there was a bunch of stuff going on. We saw this far right activist, neo-Nazi, basically show up, and and this is something too, and we've talked about this forever. If when Jan 6 was happening, if Democrats were like, hey, let's go to D.C. to, aggregate, you're basically aggregating. If you want to go to counter protest and you're like for a smaller group, you are aggravating. You're not being smart. And I watched this video, I don't know if you've seen this, Tom, I forget the guy's name, but it's like some Nazi that like, he got stuff thrown at him and he's all mad about it. But like literally while he was like trying to get away, he tried to get in his car, and there were so many people like following him that like for rush or for crowd didn't allow him to get into his car. And that is the
Mm.
problem when you're in like massive spaces like that. We've learned about this with like Brits killing each other at soccer games by championing each other. When you have like that many people, same with concerts too, and they're moving like same with other protests in the past, like Chicago 7. You know that like, oh, this is hard to stop. Like police have learned a lot about this. So like if you want to be a YouTuber and being an aggregator, it's probably agitator too. It's probably not the smartest thing to do. And that's what I'm saying too. Like I wouldn't go to January 6th and try to be crazy against the other people that are being crazy attacking the Capitol. Like you're just asking for them to attack you. Like you just gotta step back and calm down. In Minneapolis itself, local reporters documenting confrontations with federal agents, including the use of tear gas and pepper spray, agents against protesters and observers in the hours after the shooting, which is crazy. They pepper sprayed babies and all this other crazy stuff. The federal and legal responses, the DOJ federal announced it would not pursue a civil rights investigation of the ICE agents' actions, stating a federal review did not find grounds to open a full civil rights probe, and that shows how rigged it is, because we've all seen the rules that, like I just talked about, you can look it up. He technically was not supposed to open fire on someone that wasn't using another weapon besides the vehicle. To police killings and triggered internal dissent. Sorry, this isn't a contracted with past federal responses to police killings and triggered internal dissent, so they haven't been fair with the past either and how they've done this. Reports indicate that senior federal prosecutors resigned in protest or frustrations with the DOJ's handling of the case, which is crazy. We're seeing that time and time again. We've seen that when Trump first wanted to go after Letitia James and do his own witch hunts, particularly the inclusion of the civil rights investigators. Instead, the DOJ publicly confirmed investigations into Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, another witch hunt, and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. That's crazy. Allegedly, they encouraged protesters to impede federal officers, something Trump did on January 6th. An announcement that drew significant controversy because a federal agent involved in the shooting was not under investigation. So it's funny that you'll say, oh, this is bad for one side. We're going to say, oh, you're doing all this other crazy stuff, but not. Yeah, it's hypocrisy at its finest, and history will remember that. At the local level, Minnesota 40s, including the Hennepin County county attorney and the state attorney general, Keith Ellison, have pursued independent inquiries and even filed lawsuits against the federal government challenging the large ICE deployment and claiming constitutional violations. Federal judge issued an injunction limiting immigration agents' use of force against peaceful protesters, ruling that agents cannot detain or employ force against nonviolent demonstrators without reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, a legal response directly tied to the protest activity after Gird's death, which is good to see, but it also is kind of scary to put on without reasonable suspicion, because you know how they could make that up pretty easily. President Trump reportedly threatened to invoke Insurrection Act counter civil unrest in Minneapolis, a federal law that would allow deployment of U.S. military to enforce order. That's always worked out in history, reflecting the administration's willingness to treat local protests as a national security issue. It's also funny that they're always hypocritical about this. One second. When there's protests anywhere else or after a football game, we don't do that. And, Jan 6 was different with him, so it's just crazy to me. National Guard forces were also placed on standby in Minnesota, amid for protests. signaling potential escalation in federal and state security deployments so tensions grow. Some counterclaims from ICE's crazy narrative. Federal and administration figures, including Homeland Security leadership, have defended ICE agents' actions as lawful self-defense, and even Cat Scourge's behavior is even dangerous or criminal, which is sad. Uh, Caroline Levitt is, drinking the fear tactic juice because there was a reporter talking to her about the shooting, and she just blew up at him and went, "Well, what about all these immigrants we're saving from killing Americans? What about these Americans that died from immigrants?" It is crazy. It really is. Um, These claims have been widely challenged by independent video analysis and eyewitness accounts, generating significant debate over the truth in official statements and fueling broader distrust in federal messaging. Social media quickly became a battleground over competing narratives, with many users sharing videos that contradicted the federal account and alleging that misleading or AI generated content was being circulated around the event itself, further complicating public understanding. And I've heard people sing about this on Facebook too. They've seen AI videos about it, so that's scary. Um, Treading a little bit of wider trending topics. There's debate over federal law enforcement overreach and accountability, which me and Tommy would definitely talk about and agree with. Um, I think there's one more thing I wanted to go over. I kind of wanted to go over real quick for global analysis and kind of how international media is looking at it, because we always talk about in America, it's just us, but a lot of times internationally they kind of laugh at us. European and other international medias have framed the fatal shooting of Renee Good as emblematic of broader U.S. political polarization over immigration enforcement and federal authority. For example, Swiss outlets have been reporting on a contrast between Trump's administration claims and local official accounts, noting that bystander footage appears to contradict the official narrative, which isn't good to see. You know what I mean? Especially in that area of Europe. They've probably seen that a couple times in the past. And when we're America and we have a technology that you could literally see all these local people aren't saying the same thing as the Fed, something's up. What else was I going to say? Commentary from these outlets often emphasize how polarized public opinion of the United States over immigration and the use of force is perceived abroad, because they have immigration issues in all over Europe. A lot of the times they don't have this extreme idea for it. Some international commentators, including opinion pieces in foreign publications, have criticized the incident as part of a deepening crisis of U.S. law enforcement practices, suggesting that the shooting and the subsequent aggressive ICE deployments undermine America's moral leadership on the issues of human rights and the rule of law. These critics often compare the incident to past high-profile use of force cases and frame of broader questions about U.S. domestic policy and affecting global reputation. Once again, we've seen it with George Floyd, we've seen it with Rodney King, we've seen it with Breonna Taylor. Time and time again, our police do kill us. Human rights and academic organizations have spoken out all around the world as well. The Lemkin Institute for Genocide Prevention and Human Security issued a statement condemning the killing of Renee Good, Middle Eastern. So there's so many places around here talking about it, so it's really interesting to me and talking about how, and we've seen this a lot. Americans always think that politically it's just America, and a lot of times it is, but also sometimes we need to think about what other people are thinking about us, because that's good perspective as well. A lot of the times we're here because of the Brits, so maybe get some of that perspective. That's why a lot of times you'll see even really smart people from America, any American institution, get bodied by a kid that went to Cambridge because it's just an older institution. What do you think, Tommy?
So listen, I don't want to go over too much of what had already been said, but what we have, with the murder of Renee Good is just is unfortunately is the predictable outcome of an out of control federal agency, that their quote unquote agents are walking around with long guns in American cities. They're wearing bulletproof vests. They're covering their faces. They're not identifying themselves. I saw a commentator on TV on MSNBC say, it's like the Stanford prison experiment gone wrong. And I think that's a very, very, very good way of looking at this. These ICE agents, they're running around, they're terrorizing our communities, they're terrorizing our cities, and certainly the people that's in charge of oversight of ICE, they are just simply not interested in um doing that. So it's just completely ridiculous. It's disgusting. What happened to Mrs. Good is disgusting. It's deplorable. But unfortunately, this seems like we're at the beginning line. We're at the start line, not the end line. Um, until there's actually proper oversight, proper reform of how we do immigration enforcement in this country. Expect to see more death, more killings, especially under um, this administration, who just simply, who quite simply does not place any value in the life of Latinos and frankly just black and brown people in general. So scary time.
Yeah, one of the videos I was laughing, I was telling everyone, and you can look on online. One of the immigrant officers was on this dude's driveway, right by his garage. The dude was like on his pavers to his front door, and he's like, "I'm gonna arrest you. I have suspicion because you have an accent." And the dude was Mexican, and the ICE agent that was saying it was Mexican with an accent. And the other Mexican dude that he's trying to arrest goes, "You have an accent too." And you learn in history a lot of times this does happen. You have seen people switch up a lot. It's sad, but it's also crazy. I mean, he's on, and if a dude's like, "I'm a U.S. citizen too, and you're on my property," a lot of people on the right will say any day, "Bing Blue Plow," you know what I mean? Waco 2.0. They love making fun of that. Ruby Ridge, but like then if there was an ICE agent on their driveway asking for their papers, are they gonna give it to him? Like it's crazy to me. The hypocrisy, but it's sad. History's gonna go crazy about this, and I hope it does. Like we
You know,
deserve every bit of it.
you know. So I recently downloaded the NPR app because I always got to have something going on in the background, and like play it in the background to keep me going. And NPR app, you can hit play and it will play like the headlines, but it will keep playing like a radio station, which I like. So I had it on my tablet in the background. I was just doing some chores, and they started covering a segment out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they were following around ICE agents who were going around, doing their quote unquote immigration enforcement. And the reporter from NPR in this segment was saying, NPR has witnessed, countless instances of ICE agents requesting the documentation of people. And then it goes, then the reporter goes, comma, not a single person, all of them were people of color. Not a single one of them was white. So then that's coming from NPR. So, it seems like what's going on is just widespread um, racial profiling, and it's disgusting. But make no mistake. This is not a mistake. This is what the Trump administration wanted, and this is what they're getting, unfortunately.
And
But
this NPR is
we
National
voted for this.
Public Radio.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
yeah. So like they've been defunded and all that. I think they're just going by private donations, and I believe.
Mm. But they have one of the most popular podcasts, so I always try to listen to that every once in a while. But
It's pretty cool. If you just need something to like just have like on in the background when you're cleaning or something,
mm-hmm.
just keep kind of playing continuously.
But
Pretty
yeah,
cool.
with everything going on, it is crazy. History's gonna remember this. It's sad that like I wanted to put the international part in there so we could see that maybe in Europe this isn't what they do. You know what I mean? There've been conservatives in Britain that have talked about this and done it a little bit, but never to this extremes, and it never lasts long either
Yeah,
because people who have done the same thing too, they've protested. They kind of know that Europe's the same way. It's not like everyone from Britain's purely British. So
you're right.
it's crazy, and look, everything like I said with what Kristi Noem's saying, with what Caroline Levitt's saying, that's what they push. It's so brainwashing to me. And it's crazy. People defend it. They're like, "Well, you just have to obey the law." It's like, buddy, it's not. That's not how it is sometimes, and you know it. Like it's not fair. Especially if we talk about once again with the hypocrisy of Jan 6. So We talked about this last week a little bit more in depth and how they killed. I think we were talking about like 30 people last year and already killing people this year. It's just sad. There's been, and it's funny.
So
One thing we haven't talked about yet, but we talked about personally a little bit when we talk with our friends and stuff. Like they care about human trafficking, but they're kind of doing the human trafficking. A lot of these people are getting sexually exploited, like sexually assaulted would be a proper word, exploited at these places, and it's easy because like it doesn't get reported. A lot of times they can't speak English, and then they're getting sent away anyway. And it's like, come on, guys, like it's crazy to me. But go on.
what just astounds me is, and I guess it's just a broader commentary on the American right, is, and keep in mind, well, let me say this first. So it seems like Republicans and people on the right, all their mind is just is a linear set of rigid rules, and
For
if
everyone but
anything
them.
goes against, if anything goes against, these rigid rules that it is in the Republicans' mind, the conservative mind, it essentially crashes them out. You know, like oh,
Crashes them out.
someone
I like how you say
could,
that too. I agree.
it crashes them out. Okay, let's just, so someone is trying to go into the United States, and they can't, they can't go through the legal process because the legal process doesn't work. Okay, you tell them that, they're
Takes
like, well, they got to go
forever.
through the legal process. Crash out, ice, oh, people can't, it's just over and over and over again when it comes to immigration, societal norms, all of those sorts of things. If people and things do not conform to the Republican point of view and under their rigid rules, it freaks them out. And by the way, I have OCD. My mind is literally all rigid rules. I understand this. you know, like,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. It's just crazy, and we see this predominate through everything um, right wingers do, and it's just, it hurts. It hurts everything.
It hurts too much. I agree. It's crazy. Um, Especially when the rules are for they and not for me. You can't be
Absolutely.
hypocritical that much too. Yeah, it's just,
and
yeah.
and the rules are also punitive. It's like, oh, you you cross the border illegally to support your family. Oh, we're gonna kill you now. Like, that's the rule. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
that's a rigid rule you got there. What's a good Republican name?
And
What's a good
we've seen all
Republican name?
over Facebook
Chad.
for the past couple weeks, and it's not the best place ever, but you do see how some Americans are. People get so mad at protesters. Because there was one in Mercer
Oh yeah.
last weekend,
Oh,
people
I
were
know.
mad for. We have one we talked about last week. It blows my mind because a lot of those people do work. It's just a Saturday, so I'm sorry that people actually take time off. If you want to work 7 days a week, God bless you. Not how everyone is. Some people also want to stand up for something. History, like I said, history, remember the good and bad. So I personally agree with that as well. There's a lot of things that wouldn't get done without protesting, and people just don't want to take that responsibility or realize that. Just a lot of people on the other side, they're also brainwashed or going crazy. So hopefully it gets better, but I don't think it will. And I don't know with everything going on. We'll talk a little bit more about like Greenland and all this other crazy stuff. There's so much stuff going on, and it's just like that. That's a Trump
Like,
presidency. So much stuff to hide Epstein. So I'm ready to go on national topic too. If you are, Tommy, make sure you guys are dropping a like if you're enjoying the content.
how many viewers do we have, Liam?
Like 3 or 2, it's like bumping from 3 to 2. Right now,
Okay.
3. Yeah.
To our three viewers, this is really bad, guys. This one's really bad. This is honestly probably the single worst news story that we have covered on this show, in terms of, and there's been some, I don't know, the Renee Good stuff's obviously really, 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 really bad, but like, what I'm about to talk about with these text messages, this guy controls the nuclear button. Okay, this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a fundamentally insecure man who doesn't know his right from his left, who doesn't know right from wrong, who is just trying to prove to the whole world that he's the biggest and the strongest. And it's scary when the stakes are so high. I'll explain. Trump Greenland text. I woke up to this, by the way. This was a good way to wake up. So this comes from the New York Times. I'm just going to read this directly. So in a text message over the weekend, President Trump told Jonas Gahr Stone, Norway's prime minister, that since being denied the Nobel Peace Prize, he no longer felt obligated to think purely of peace. Mr. Stone had contacted Mr. Trump to discuss global security, signing his message Alex and Jonas a reference to the Finnish president um, Alexander Stubb. The Norwegian Prime Minister's office provided the full exchange to the New York Times. So we know this is true because it comes from the Prime Minister's office. Okay. Text messages from Mr. Store to Mr. Trump on Sunday, January 18th, 3:48 p.m. Dear Mr. Trump, or Dear Mr. President, Dear Donald, on the contact across the Atlantic, on Greenland, Gaza, Ukraine, and your tariff announcement yesterday. You know our position on these issues, but we believe we should all work to take this down and de-escalate. So much is happening around us where we need to stand together. We are proposing a call with you later today, with both of us or separately. Give us a hint of what you prefer. Best, Alex and Jonas. So that's a very nice message. So this is what they got back. This is what our president sent back to him.
Like a half an hour later.
Sent it back. Like a half an hour later, 3:48. Yeah, 4:15. So he left them on red for 30 minutes. Just leave
it took
2
30
4
minutes
minutes
to make this text, Tommy. Think about that.
Yeah. Dear Jonas, who uses a colon in a text message? I'm sorry. Like, this is not a legal paper. Like, Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars, plus, all caps, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China, and why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. I don't even think the United States was a country when these boats landed there. We had boats landing there also.
Yep.
I have done more for NATO than any other. It's a trauma laugh. Oh my god, this is so bad. I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have the complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, President DJT. Okay. Pour yourself out
That's
a
crazy.
drink. So here's the thing. For number one, there is absolutely papers that say the United States recognizes Denmark's claim over Greenland. Greenland is essentially a colony of the Kingdom of Denmark. And if they get autonomy or not, the concern of the Greenlanders, their rights to autonomy, that is between Greenland and Denmark. Okay, that is not between us. Okay, so, but regardless, there's absolutely documentation that the United States recognizes Denmark controls Greenland. And the New York Times quoted them as such. And they quite literally say the United States recognizes, like it's there's no legal logic required. It's like point blank on the paper. That's number one. Number two, I just don't think this is a thing a sane person says. Number one, why would you talk to two foreign leaders like that when they're coming to you with a conciliatory tone. They're wanting to work together with the United States, but instead you lash out. And the reason why our president lashed out was because he said, considering your country decided to give me the Nobel, not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize, no country gives out the Nobel Peace Prize. It's an independent organization. And if you look at the public statements coming out of Europe right now, they're saying that, like, it's well established that, Nordic countries don't give out the Nobel Peace Prize, because of course, why doesn't Donald Trump give out a gold medal at the Olympics? Why don't, like, come on. So it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I think this guy, our president, quite honestly, I think he's off his damn rocker. Like, I just, and I knew he was crazy for a long time, and I teetered back and forth. Is he truly? I always knew he was crazy on some level, but I
Yeah.
teetered back and forth. Like, is he completely crazy, or is he like just playing politics and like trying to appeal to nationalism? No, I think the answer is, based on this text that we were never supposed to see, is like, no, he's actually batshit insane.
He is.
Like,
Yeah.
100%. Like, there's not a single brain cell that works in there. And it is terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying that this is the man that is representing us on the world stage. By the way, has control to our nuclear arsenal. It's
Hmm.
crazy. It's crazy. And we wonder why, Denmark and Nordic countries are sending troops into Greenland trying to deter us. So, just crazy. Um, I guess the last thing I have to say is, if we truly are going to invade Greenland, we can't do that. Like if you're in the U.S. military, you have to resign. You can't go into Greenland. Listen, like, I didn't agree with what happened to Maduro. It was against international law and stuff like that. But Maduro was a dictator. Maduro was a bad guy. But like with Greenland, we would literally just be toppling like a democratically elected government. Like, not even actually, their democracy is stronger than ours. Like, so it's just crazy. So I guess I'll join Mark Kelly and say, if you're if you're in uniform right now, and you get that order to march on Nook, I wouldn't go. I really wouldn't do it, because history's not going to remember that kindly. Hopefully, it doesn't get there, but we shall
Agreed. And
see.
that would be crazy. It just shows how dumb Trump is, and like Tommy's saying, crazy. You know what I mean? We shouldn't be talking about presidents like this. He signs off his text, President JDJG. It's just dumb. Dumb and dumb and dumb. I agree.
And
History would look at it kindly. It doesn't really help us in the modern day. But go on.
and this I just want to remind everybody, as I keep saying over and over again, we can put as many troops as we want in Greenland to control, to monitor, to control whatever you want to say, future Arctic shipping lanes in the Arctic Ocean. We can do that already. Okay, we need we need rare earth minerals from Greenland. We need something. If we need something, um, some natural resources there. The Danish have already made it clear that they would be happy to enter into some sort of deal with us where we mine it jointly, we get it, and some money gets reinvested in the island. So
Mm,
what Donald Trump is pursuing is not in furtherance of a U.S. goal, because we can achieve our goals through peaceful means.
I see. Yeah.
It's just bullying and imperialism. It's quite literally the logic of, this is my land. And that's scary.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, Tommy. Agreed. I don't know. Like, he's talking about China and Russia. It's just dumb. He's crazy. He's pushing out this BS, and I don't know, man. Trump, Trump,
Hasn't been
Trump.
like any Rush There hasn't been any significant Russian or like Chinese vessels in Greenland. Like, there's not a significant presence
Yeah.
that they have in Greenland. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
But that's Trump for you. Total craziness. Just dumb. Can't be diplomatic. He's kind of screwing like international and national like diplomacy, and that's how people are. Are you ready to go into local topic one? You got back to back
Yep, I
ones.
can. Yes, sir. Um, so our local topic one, local topic two, kind of go together slightly. Um, so local topic one, Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost rejects proposed marijuana referendum trying to overturn new marijuana law. When they say overturn new marijuana law, they're not talking about what voters approved several years ago. They're talking about the changes the state legislature made last year. Just for clarification, Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost rejected the summary language for a proposed referendum aimed at overturning Senate Bill 56, which was recently passed into law, that alters Ohio's voter approved marijuana legalization statute, excuse me, and bans intoxicating hemp. The petition was submitted by a group called Ohioans for Cannabis Choice. Yost concluded that the summary language was not fair and truthful because it contained misstatements and omissions that could mislead potential signers about the effects of SB 56. Um, Issues identified include inaccurate claims about whether the law authorizes delivery rules for adult use cannabis. It does not. Felony disqualification provisions, some were vetoed. Other inaccuracies involving dispensary practices, local control, and tax powers. So the petition, which would be a recall petition, or excuse me, not a recall petition, a referendum on a statute. The petition would have aimed to pause SB 56 implementation and let voters decide its fate at the ballot box if if enough valid signatures were collected. Organizers met the initial signature threshold, which is not a lot, before submitting their proposal for review. Yoast rejection means that they must revise the summary, collect the signatures again, and resubmit for certification. So SB 56, as we have talked about previously, bans the sale of unregulated intoxicating hemp products, which that's kind of moot now anyway, because it's illegal under federal law anyway. Reducing THC limits and tightening other regulations, and other restrictions affecting possession, storage, and public use, which are all against what the voters voted for in 2023. So next steps, Ohio's for Cannabis Choice now's the opportunity to revise the referendum and try to get the signatures again, so they can then proceed to try to get the 200 and some thousand signatures that they need to actually get it on the ballot. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Um, yeah. So this topic, as I said earlier, goes into our next topic, which Liam's going to be discussing, which is how the tax money. So it's interesting because what they're trying to repeal, what they're trying to repeal right now, which the legislature approved, which was against the will of the voters, that places all of these restrictions on replaces all these restrictions on adult use cannabis in the state,
Mm-hmm.
potency limits, all of these different things. The law that was recently passed, it did not actually change the money going to local governments that actually host these cannabis dispensaries. So that's why when Liam talks about his second topic, that's how they're connected. But other than that, I guess I just want to say is like, listen, in 2023, Ohio voters were very clear that they passed adult use cannabis in the state of Ohio. It actually passed by a greater margin than state issue one pro-choice. And despite what the Republicans say, Ohio voters passed a reasonable and workable solution for adult use cannabis, and I just simply think that needs to be respected by our legislators. Of course, that's not going to happen because our legislators don't respect us. They're so insulated in one party rule in Columbus. They're so disconnected from their voters through
Mm-hmm.
partisan gerrymandering. They don't actually really care what we have to say, or care what we think. But um, that's wrong, and good on um this group of voters for trying to claw back the restrictions that the legislature passed last year as it relates to adult use cannabis, and hopefully they're able to get their ballot language or get their petition summary all in order so they can start collecting those 1,000 signatures again, and then hopefully get approval and go towards that, getting it on the ballot in November. But we shall have to see. What do you have to
Yep.
say, Liam? What do you think?
Typical Dave Yost. You know what I mean? Doing everything he needs to do for his Republican counterparts. That's funny. Helping them out instead of the people. Sorry about that. I muted myself on stream so I didn't have to
You're good.
get blown up by that sneeze. Once again, we voted for it, and they would rather put in work, I guess, instead of actually helping out Ohioans to change all laws we voted on. So it'll be interesting. And like some of this stuff could affect tax revenue, but not really. Probably in the long run.
Yeah.
But high THC stuff, maybe people that do dabs or you know what I mean, like for high THC, will stop doing it. Crazy to me, but I don't know. I'll go on to a local topic too, which is about how local dispensaries are helping or getting money from tax revenue. The overview for distribution of pot tax revenue. After more than a year of delay and dispute, the Ohio committees that host recreational marijuana dispensaries have finally started receiving their share of sales tax generated from those dispensaries. The state began distributing payments on January 7th, 2026. Wow, it took a year for the state to do that. I wonder what they did with that money. Nope. For collections that occurred between September 2024 and November 2025. This marks the first meaningful flow of funds to local governments since the recreational cannabis was legalized in Ohio via ballot initiative in November 2023. Under that initiative, communities with dispensaries were slated to receive 36% of the sales tax revenue collected on recreational marijuana sales. Why the delay happened? The long delay stemmed from a political and legal dispute between local communities and state officials. Although voters approved the revenue sharing provision, um, the measure was a bailout initiative rather than a constitutional amendment. This technical distinction meant that the Ohio legislature retained authority over how tax revenue could be appropriated, and initially it chose not to release the money to host cities and towns. And a lot of cities were mad at that. Ultimately, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine signed a law on December 19, 2025, requiring the state to pay the full 36% to host communities. That also made several changes to the the original initiative, including new restrictions on bringing marijuana from Ohio to out of state, lowering maximum THC levels like we talked about in the last topic actually, and tightening packaging rules, which I'm fine with packaging rules and like having like gas stations and vape stores selling fake weed. How much money is being distributed? The initial distribution total amount approximately 33.2 million, and was sent to more than 100 communities that housed recreational cannabis dispensaries. Columbus received the largest single allocation, probably at the most, over 4.24 million. Crazy. Warren only had G Leaf during this time, received around $335,000. That is a lot of money. You could redo a whole road. You could redo water lines on for a road just for 1 year. Nowers received 167,520 from AYR. Hubbard received about 65,000. Gerard, which only recently opened a dispensary, received $10,500. Reflecting its newer market status, Youngstown received almost 300,000 to apply to its 2026 budget, which is great to see. I don't know if they get the money from. There's one in Boardman and one in Struthers. I don't know if there's actually any in Youngstown, but I don't know if they get money from those ones because these
There's
payments.
only one in Youngstown.
There is okay. Where's it at?
Only one in the whole city of Youngstown. I don't know, but I was reading there's a moratorium the Youngstown City Council places. So for the city of Youngstown, there's only one dispensary.
That's crazy.
Doesn't seem like the smartest move out of their city council,
Yeah,
but
Gerard did the same thing. They only wanted one. They kept like neglecting other ones or rejecting them because these
and I
payments
don't
was
agree
like
with that either.
yeah.
I don't agree with that either, but Gerard makes a hell of a lot more sense than Youngstown. Gerard's a hell of a lot smaller than the city of Youngstown.
Yeah. Yep. Because these payments cover a long collection period, 15 months. Future payments will be smaller and then billed but also a bit more regular, arriving monthly based on taxes collected in the prior month, which is great to see. And cities could plan for that too. Um, and like we actually, I think it was Howland or maybe it was Hubbard too, did the same thing. Did a moratorium for one, which I get, but it kind of hurts competition and yourself too. You want to get more tax revenue. Government response and use of funds. Local officials reacted positively. Of course, money's money. And Warren City Council created a separate general ledger line item, to track marijuana's tax revenues and plan for how it may benefit municipal services. Officials now has noted the new revenue could help offset general operating costs like police and fire services, but we're watching monthly totals closely as well. In Girard, officials say they are still determining priorities and may use revenue for street paving, road improvements, or downtown revitalization as the funding grows. In Youngstown, city finance staff have incorporated cannabis tax receipts into a 2026 operating budget, signaling solid planning for future fiscal years, which is really great to see. Quick broader policy context and implications. The resolution of this funding issues highlights ongoing debates over voting initiatives like me and Tommy are talking about versus legislative control. Because Ohio legislative measure did not bind for legislation to immediate appropriation, officials were able to delay revenue sharing until a compromise was reached. And for a while, like with their budgets for state, they just try to screw over these cities. This situation is parallel to other states where marijuana tax revenue has been distributed to local jurisdictions. In Maryland, cannabis tax revenue distributions directly fund community reinvestment in health programs after a structured allocation formula was enacted. Michigan recently committed large distributions of marijuana tax revenues to cities, townships, and counties. These comparisons show a broader movement across the states, ensuring marijuana tax dollars benefit local communities where sales occur through mechanics and policies. But even though the mechanics and policies vary from each state, and that's the one thing I do agree with. Let it, because each state's a little bit different. Definitely good to see, and hopefully we keep getting a lot of this money. What do you think, Tommy?
Happy the money's flowing. It sure took them how long enough. When did legal sales begin in the state of Ohio for recreational
I think it was March of
people? What was
24 or
it?
something.
Yeah, it
No,
was it was quite a while ago. March 25.
no. It may have been November of 24. Or like October around there, you know what I mean? It was sometimes in 24.
Okay, yeah. It was around a year though. It's been quite a while that this money has just been languishing in Columbus. Quite frankly, I'm surprised that Columbus didn't just take all the money. I know that's what Governor DeWine wanted them to do, was just take all the money from the local municipalities. I'm kind of surprised that didn't happen because that would have been the exact wrong thing to do. And that's just what we do here in the state of Ohio. We do the wrong thing. We keep doing the wrong
Yep.
thing over and over and over again. So I'm pleasantly surprised that the money um is going down to the municipalities that host these dispensaries. I think it's all in all a great thing for the state of Ohio. It's a good social justice initiative. It reduces, um, the criminalization of marijuana, creates revenue for the cities that host these dispensaries that
Mm.
they can then invest the funds into services that they deem. So happy to see the money's coming through. And we'll just have to see what the broader marijuana regime looks like in the state of Ohio,
Yep.
considering what I discussed earlier with this repeal initiative that may be going down the pipelines, um,
And also
to
federal changes
repeal
with
the
Trump and everything. It's
legislatures.
going to be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. We'll have to see. We will have to see. I mean, I think probably the likely worst case scenario is the law that was passed last year stays in effect, but we'll have to see.
Yep. Agreed. And like I said, if reclassifying it schedule free, some of these states might be more relaxed. Which I don't know. It all depends on how the feds are and how they are. So they need to actually start helping us and not just consider dicking around and trying to go back and control things that we passed that they probably don't understand. Like we're seeing a lot now. Medical marijuana was passed here first, so we do know it helps a lot of conditions and diseases. So it'd be great to see it keep going, and these cities actually get more money from it. We see time and time again. There was a lot of lost revenue for the past 20, 10 years. A lot of people we've seen now. There's studies that show Americans smoke weed more than they do drink. So that's a lot of lost revenue. And like we talk about, the whole you can't drive to Michigan is really unfair. So hopefully that changes too. But that's really it for us. We got about an hour-long episode. Not too bad on my end. Hope everyone's having a great night. We have a national championship tonight for football. College football will be interesting. We'll be back here Thursday for the sports show we have. Northeast Ohio Sports Show with me and Hunter. We'll be talking about NFL, college football, everything. It'll be interesting. We got F1 kicking off next month, and we have all the liveries coming out this month, so it'll be interesting to see. And we'll keep having politics stuff with ICE and all this other crap that Trump's doing. It's being crazy all around. He always tries to throw
Unless
gas in the
unless
fire.
we both get drafted and we're fighting the Danish,
True.
then there won't be a show later this
Yeah.
week.
We'll be alright. I can't get drafted, so I'm too messed up, I think. They won't like
No,
me.
so am I. So am I, but that's what I mean. If one of us get drafted, it means like they don't care anymore. There's
True.
any person.
Like we're over 26 now too, so like we're not first selection.
I know.
It would be bad if we get drafted. I'll tell you what. We're like, it's too cold out
There
here.
won't be.
I don't want to be out here. We're invading Canada and Greenland. It's cold. I can't deal with this.
I don't want to go fight for Nook.
And Venezuela, like so many countries. So, but that's what Trump does. He knows chaos is better than him actually helping out the American people. But he needs to start helping out the American people because gas isn't something that he controls. That's not something that really helps out the American person, let alone the poor American person. People pay for that anyway, no matter what. They got to get to work and make that money.
We keep the podcast going though. If we're overseas, we keep it going.
True. We could be like those CNN reporters in the Middle East. It'll be fun.
Be so bad. Here's Tommy and Liam freezing their balls off.
Bombs going off in the background. No, I'm good. That's it for us. Hope
Hopefully
everyone
this
has a great night, has a great MLK day. Hopefully, if you had a day off, you had a good time to relax. And hopefully stay warm with all this frigid weather happening tomorrow. Schools are off, so hopefully stay warm, everyone. And have a great night. That's it for me. Good night, Youngstown.
Have a good night, everybody.